the other thing about just not getting it right is failing isn't a bad thing, because failing allows you to learn. So, uh, and I raise this because there are people who will literally not try something because of fear of failing, right?
Right,
And
because their inner critic will beat them to
yes,
death,
yes, yes.
right? So it's interesting because they did all these studies that showed that people that are compassionate to themselves do better because they know that when they fail, they can love themselves and it makes them want to try again.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion. My words got power, my thoughts have action. Motivation, stay gracious. That's greatness. Be audacious. Motivation. Be audacious. Innovation. Be audacious. Inspiration. Be bold. Motivation. Be
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to another edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. It's always a pleasure to be here, and I'm grateful that you've chosen to spend time out of your day with us as we explore what it truly means to live your best audacious life. Remember that, not by pretending, we're not doing it by pretending life is easy, but by learning how to meet it with courage, compassion, and intention. Today's conversation is one that feels especially grounding because life doesn't always slow down when we need it to. Grief shows up uninvited, stress stacks up quietly, and sometimes the noise of the world makes it hard to hear ourselves think. So today we're going to talk about mindfulness, self-compassion, and resilience, not as buzzwords, but as accessible tools for navigating life's hardest moments. Now, think of your inner world like a stormy ocean. Mindfulness isn't about stopping the waves. It's about learning how to float, how to breathe, and how to trust that you can stay steady even when the water gets rough. That's the spirit of today's conversation. Now, in this episode, we explore how mindfulness and self-compassion help regulate our emotions during stress and uncertainty, why community and connection matter when navigating grief and loss, how gratitude and reflection can shift perspective even in painful moments, why naming emotions is a powerful step towards healing, and finally, how simple daily practices create lasting mental resilience. This isn't about fixing yourself. It's about learning how to be with yourself gently, honestly, and fully. And there's a big, big difference between the two. Today's guest is Julie Potiker. She's a mindfulness teacher, author, grief educator, and founder of Mindful Methods for Life. And Julie's work focuses on helping people build emotional resilience through mindfulness, self-compassion, and practical neuroscience-based tools. She's the author of Snap, From Chaos to Calm, and Life Falls Apart, but You Don't Have to. And she's also the host of the Balanced Mind with Julie Potiker podcast. So she's got a lot going on, so it's great that she spent time with us. Her mission is really simple and powerful. It's to help people meet life's challenges with kindness instead of criticism, and presence instead of panic. What makes Julie especially relevant to this conversation is that she doesn't just teach from theory alone. She teaches from lived experience, from navigating personal loss, caregiving, and grief to helping others regulate their emotions in moments of deep pain. Her work lives at the intersection of compassion and courage. So now that we've got you all set, let's dive into our conversation with Julie. Hey, Julie, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you taking the time to be here today with me.
I'm feeling a little less than audacious, but I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, you did mention a little of the weather, and maybe for our time together, we'll do what we can to get your
Lift me
spirits
up.
high.
Lift
We'll
me
lift you
up.
up. We'll do our part. Well, that's what being audacious is, right? It's impacting others in certain ways by just our being ourselves, and I think it's an important aspect of the journey, right? Because I think and I call it journey because it very much is that, like, we're on our individual pathway, and it's up to us to go down our journey, and if along the way, we can inspire others, like, hey, you know what? Audley tried this thing and it worked for him, but why not? We potentially have the ability to inspire people. And I would even take it a step further is, we're going to have a conversation, and, there'll be people out there that are eavesdropping on what we've got to share today. And they can turn around and take something and improve their lives and take themselves to a better trajectory. And we may never know, right? And that's the exciting part for me. So That's why we're here. You spend a lot of work spend a lot of time in the mindfulness area,
Yeah.
and helping people to be a bit more centered in lives. And I think that's a fabulous approach. And when we talk about audacity, that works very much hand in hand, because you can move towards that life that you want. So maybe as a starting point, Julie, I'll get you to introduce yourself to our audience, talk about the work that you do, and what's got you to the point that you're at now.
Okay. Well, I started out my professional life as an attorney,
Okay.
and then I became a full-time mom and sort of community involvement person, board leader person. And around the time when my three kids with ADHD were all going through adolescence, I have a set of identical twin girls and a boy. The wrong words started coming out of my mouth. I was
Okay.
also the only kid from my family of origin with boots on the ground with my parents as they were aging, because my parents moved out to California. So
Right.
I thought maybe I have a brain tumor, and I went to a neurologist. I never imagined that it was excessive stress that was causing my words to
Mm.
garble. I'd think one word and a different word would come out my mouth.
Hmm.
So he recommended, the neurologist, in his wisdom, recommended mindfulness-based stress reduction, which I had never heard of,
Okay.
which was actually created in 1979 for the pain clinic at UMass in Worcester by John Kabat-Zinn, who people think of as sort of the father of mindfulness in the West. So I took that class at UCSD, Center for Mindfulness, because I live in San Diego,
Hmm.
and it was transformative enough that it got me interested in the brain science and neuroscience classes. So I started taking those classes online, and I really like hitched my wagon to one specific teacher. His name is Rick Hansen. And so
Okay.
I took every class I could find of his. And then, this is a long answer. I hope it's not so boring. But
No,
you
no,
asked
keep going.
a huge question. But
Yeah.
and then UCSD Center for Mindfulness sent out like an advertisement to everybody in their listserv, and I was in their listserv because I had taken MBSR from
Right.
them, that there's
Right.
a new class, and it's called Mindful Self-Compassion. So I thought, why not? So I took that class, and I was like, okay, this is it. It's an 8-week class. It literally was completely healing and transformative. And in the meanwhile, I continued taking all these other courses and trainings. And then a few years after that, they advertised they were going to do a teacher training for mindful self-compassion.
Okay.
So I signed up for that teacher training. I got accepted. I got trained, and that was in 2014. And I started teaching mindful self-compassion right then. And then I started adapting it because I'm me. And then Mindful Methods for Life was born. And I actually got to be face to face with Rick Hansen over a 10-day retreat at a retreat center on
Hmm.
science and mindfulness. He became my mentor. I wrote my first book. I created workshops. I wrote my second book, so it's just sort of, it was nothing that I planned.
Never is it?
No, it was nothing that I planned.
Tell us.
I never would have thought this was what I'd be doing.
Sure. Sure. Tell us, just for the benefit of our listeners, if you could tell us what mindful self-compassion is.
Yeah, sure. So Chris Germer from Harvard and Kristen Neff from Texas created this curriculum. She's a researcher in self-compassion. So she came up with a self-compassion scale, and that's used in clinical settings, and people can go to her website and take a little mini quiz and see how self-compassionate they are. And
Hmm.
usually people are not self-compassionate. So there's a ton of room for improvement. And the definition of mindful self-compassion, the components are mindfulness, because you have to know that you're suffering to give yourself kindness. And then self-kindness is the second pillar. And then common humanity is the third pillar. And that's a big one, because if you know that you're feeling like crap for a specific reason, and maybe 2 billion people of the 8 billion of us are feeling the same way at the same instant,
Hmm.
it makes you feel less isolated. And so it helps you from sliding into depression.
Mm. So you said a lot of people don't possess this. Why do you think that
Now,
is?
we're pretty mean to ourselves. If we talked to our friends the way we talk to ourselves in our heads, we wouldn't have any friends.
And is that a function of life, do you think, or people need is a skill that people need to learn? Like, what do you think's
No,
happening?
you can learn it. It's really not hard to learn. It just takes practice. You can learn to find your inner compassionate voice and you can learn to turn it towards yourself. And that's part of the training in the Mindful Self Compassion course and in the adaptations that I created.
Um, okay, so it's and it's interesting because the self compassion, like it's just funny how I want to go back to this because it's just funny how you just think we would like we would naturally want to take care of ourselves or naturally show love to ourselves or like we are our most important person like eh, we at least we should be right but it's not the norm and so it's even when you think about it, you're like but how is it even possible like why wouldn't I show myself compassion.
Right. So that's your inner critical voice that we work with. There's a whole unit on it, but really it's Dr. Schwartz from Internal Family Systems that created an entire discipline of all the different pieces of inside your head. And he labeled them and worked with them. In the
Mhm.
Mindful Self Compassion curriculum, it's much simpler. And there's two writing exercises that help you really see how you talk to yourself, the language you use, and the
Yes.
tone of voice you use, and then how you would talk to a really dear friend, and then finding that inner compassionate voice and doing a writing exercise, and it's basically a love letter to yourself.
Hmm. And I can see where things like self praise and acknowledgement fit into this quite nicely because you're building up yourself, you're fortifying yourself, are you not?
Yeah, yeah. And it's not comparison, oddly. It's not like I'm so great compared to Susie. It's like I'm doing the best that I can.
Yes.
It's very much pure. It's much more pure. So it's self-compassion and self-esteem are two different things.
Okay.
It's like you can screw up and give yourself love and then try again. My head cold is not making me as articulate as I wish, but there's a nuance that's
Okay.
different from self-compassion and self-esteem. And it's like your self-esteem when you're kids, you learn like I won, he lost. Like you're
Okay.
in comparison to others. And self-compassion is really just doing the best you can for yourself in your
Yes.
circumstances. Like it's way more sweet and pure and humble and nice.
Right. Right. And those are wonderful ways to treat ourselves, right? It truly, truly is. And look, you look at life, and life offers so much. It throws so much our way. We're not going to be successful at every single thing that we do. We have to understand that, like, as much pressure we may put on ourselves sometimes, there will be instances where we just don't get it right.
Right.
And so that's the times like that I can definitely see that comes into play. The other thing about just not getting it right is failing isn't a bad thing because failing allows you to learn. So, and I raise this because there are people who will literally not try something because of fear of failing, right?
Right.
And
Because their inner critic will beat them
yes,
to death.
yes, yes.
Right? So it's interesting because they did all these studies that showed that people that are compassionate to themselves do better because they know that when they fail, they can love themselves and it makes them want to try again.
Hmm. Okay, okay.
So they're
So
they're more resilient. I
yes.
mean, it's the science behind this stuff is really fascinating.
Okay, so we know this. How do we get better at it or be more compassionate
It's
towards
just
it?
practice. It's all it is
Okay.
practice. And it's not hard. You just have to do it when you don't need it so that you have it when
Oh,
you just have to practice every day.
give me an example of when we don't need it. What's that? When would that be?
When you're perfectly happy.
Okay.
So when you're perfectly happy, if you remember to enrich and absorb that happy feeling, you'll know because you've learned the stuff that you're making new neural networks in your brain and you're pushing a good mood, which is a mental state, you're pushing it to a neural trait. And the more happy neural traits you have in your head, in your brain, the negative ones get pruned out. So you end up with just a happier brain, which means you're a happier person.
And I can see this is where our resiliency builds, right? Because and let's be clear, no one is saying that there won't be bad times, you won't be sad, you won't be have misfortunes, you won't get sick. Like these things are there and they're going to happen. That bounce back ability is what we're talking about, right? And so in line with what you're saying, if you're building up yourself and you're building those new pathways when you don't need it, that they're there and your brain automatically goes there. What those times that you do need it, it's a natural reaction. It's almost like a habit.
Right. Like I had a girlfriend that dropped off chicken soup for me a couple days ago from this fabulous Mexican restaurant that we always go to in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And she, sent me a text message that she was so sad that I was sick and, like it's such a bummer. And I'm like, it's fine. It's not cancer. Like that's my immediate,
I'll live.
yeah,
Right.
so I got a virus. So, it's your horrible things will happen. All you have to do is watch the news,
Oh yeah. Easy.
right? It's your reaction to those horrible things that's going to set you up for success or failure.
That's right.
And it's your reaction. Basically, that's what's in your power.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as you talk about news, I mean, doom scrolling is something that you also spend some time around your understanding. Not that you're doing it yourself literally, but you're also helping people through that. And it is a really, familiar trap for many of us, where we get caught, and it can happen oh so easy. You're
Right.
sitting there one moment, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, and you get down this rabbit hole, and you are gone, right? And so, I wonder for even busy people who want to stay informed, because you want to be
Right.
it comes from a place of wanting to know what's going on, so you want to stay informed, you don't want to be in this cloud in the dark, but you don't want to be overwhelmed at the same time.
Yeah. So I recommend that people really curate their news.
Okay.
I don't watch the news on television. I haven't watched the news on television since 9/11,
Got you.
but I'm very well informed by reading. So I just read, I happen to love Barry Weiss's The Free Press. I read it every day.
Okay.
I don't read all the articles in it, but she's very balanced. I read the Wall Street Journal, which is interesting because I didn't used to read it. Now I like it.
Right.
I grew up reading the New York Times, for like the last 50 years or more. And I'm not so digging the New York Times these
Okay.
last five years maybe. So anyway, I curate what I'm taking in. And then if I'm on Facebook and I'm on my business Facebook,
Yep.
Mindful Methods for Life, none of that crap even comes in there. That is curated as like a wellness happy place. So the only thing I see in there are poets and nature
There
photographers
you go.
and
Videos of cats riding bikes.
no, not even silly cat and dog stuff, just like
Right.
real inspirational stuff. On my personal Julie Potiker Facebook, I can get some real dark, stuff. And I either snooze it or I block it or I'm really mindful so that I don't end up going down to the sea in ships. But yet I know what's happening.
Right. What I'm hearing is that there are sort of some protect boundaries, if you will, right, in terms of what you want to have come your way and what you don't. And I think really, I think boundaries are important.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you have to protect your mental health. You really do. Your mental health is huge because you're an embodied being,
Yes.
and your mental health can make your body sick.
Yeah. Yeah. Thoughts on sort of, morning routines or I guess mindfulness routines in mornings. I'm sure that's something that you encourage and you promote and
Yeah, I have one.
okay.
That's why I'm smiling.
Yeah.
I like coffee. Some
Okay.
people like tea, some people drink a smoothie, whatever. So my thing is coffee. So my first cup of coffee in the morning, I sit outside and I just look and listen. And so in San Diego, I'm outside and I'm listening to the birds and I'm looking at the flowers. And there's so many different species of birds. I have the Merlin app that IDs who's
Okay.
singing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there's finches and sparrows and towhees and I mean mourning doves and woodpeckers and three different kinds of hummingbirds. And so I just have this experience and wrens. I mean, the Bewick's wren, it's my favorite little bird. So
Hmm.
anyway, it's like its little plump body with its little tail up. It's
Okay.
the
Yeah.
cutest
Yeah.
thing. So that's my morning coffee experience before I look at my phone to scroll my emails. I do
Gotcha.
this thing, and we spend part of the year in Idaho, and it's a completely different environment.
Yep.
There's just tons of flying insects, and they're catching the light, and there's a lot of, bees. And then out there, it's weird. There's the Western flycatcher and chickadees and
Okay.
robins, and that's basically it. Oh, and magpies. So it's just different, and it's my morning thing. And then I write poetry a lot based on that, what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing on that day. So there's probably
Oh,
50 morning coffee meditation poems, at
I
least,
love that.
probably more.
And maybe one day throw them together or make a book out of them or something, perhaps.
The book is being published in March of 2026. It's
Yes.
called Gentle Currents,
I
Poems
love it.
of Pause and Peace.
I
And it's
love it.
being published by the Poetry Box.
And the fact that you've developed that out of a mindfulness morning routine to help your mental well-being is just such a wonderful, wonderful thing. It wasn't like you said, well, let me think of the next thing that I can put in a book. It wasn't that at all. It was you were doing a generous, kind act to yourself that you repeated over and over and over again to create something.
You know what's really weird?
What's that?
I, and I don't think I've ever expressed this on any interviews.
Okay.
I I never really know what the next chapter is going to be.
I love it.
I'm just walking this path of my teachers above me reaching down to
Yes.
me reaching down to other fellow beings,
Yes.
and just, and
Yes.
then things just sort like doors just sort of open. Like I always read a poem at the end of guiding a meditation, and I've been teaching this one group of people since the lockdown. So, I'm dedicated. I show up every Wednesday morning on Zoom, and now we're more than 5 years together,
Wow.
right? And sometime in maybe 2021, I started writing poems because I was reading everybody else's poems, dead
Right.
poets,
Right.
alive poets, and then going
Hmm.
down these great rabbit holes and learning about the poets.
Yep.
So I started writing my own poetry, like these morning poems, and I read them to my group, and they were like, "Julie, these are evocative. These You could publish these." And I was like, "No, really? No." And then I
Mm.
started like learning. I went to a writing retreat of this woman that I completely am a huge fan of. And then I met somebody who said, "Oh, I'm from San Diego. There's a group of writers thing that's called Writers Inc." And then I went to a poetry thing of theirs. And then the one girl said, "Oh, your nature poems, they would fit with the Advocate Nature Journal." And I'm like, "What's that?" And she's like, "Email them to this guy." And anyway, it just kept, and then I started getting published. Anyway, it's just like you just are open and interested and curious, and then you find this stuff that you didn't even know was in your backyard.
That's it. And I would say, the stuff finds you, right? You're in the same place you were and it comes to you. And the word open is beautiful. That's the word there, because, if you're not, at the right frame of mind, or you're not being open, let's say, the things will come your way and you'll see them and they'll pass you by, and you wouldn't think twice about it. Whereas if you were, hands wide open, looking around and being aware of what's happening, right?
Yeah.
The same thing will come the next day. You're like, oh, wow, that's it. And how many times that thing that's been there the entire time, you're really seeing it? Because, what's the expression, when the student is ready, the master will appear, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
You talked about the book in 2026, but let's talk about the one you got out now, Snap from Chaos to Calm. Talk about tell us about that one.
That happened during the pandemic, because in my first book, Life Falls Apart, But You Don't Have to, I teach the acronym RAIN, which has been around since the 80s, and it's to deal with difficult emotions: recognize, allow, investigate, not identify. And I had been adapting it and using soothing touch at the beginning of RAIN. And then I said, you know what, this system needs an update. And so I came up with Snap. I actually came up with Snap when I was laying in bed, like right before, like, when you wake up and you're just sort of not really awake, it's that liminal space. And I was like, Snap.
Yeah.
So it's soothing touch, because you want oxytocin and endorphins when you're activated with your fight, flight, freeze. That's cortisol and adrenaline. So it's all brain science, all this stuff. So you want to downregulate that. So if you put your hands where you find it soothing, which it could be cradling your face, it could be 2 on your heart, or 1 on your belly and 1 on your heart, or both on your belly, or you could be hugging your arms, or you could have one hand in the other hand lovingly in your lap. But you're going to get a release from your brain of these nicey hormones.
Yes.
That happens in the wild. It's the mammalian caregiver response. When you pick up a baby that's crying, baby, and then the baby gets that release, and then the grown-up gets that release. So we can do that for ourselves. So I'm like, I want that first, because you're trying to get your prefrontal cortex online to make a more skillful response, right? And that might take 12 seconds or 14 seconds. So you do the soothing touch. Oh, God, that really feels good. That feels good right now. Then the N is name the emotion. Which is another little name it to tame it, feel it to heal it. But really, you're waiting for this piece, your prefrontal cortex. So, I feel fear, let's say.
And that's so important. It's so important to be able to name it, right? Because that's it's a kind of along the same lines of like being self-aware. We've got to be able to know what it is before we can do anything.
Right. You need to make space around it, right?
Yeah.
And realize you're not it. It's arising, because emotions arise and they pass through. The good and the bad changes. Everything changes.
Yeah. So, and I also think too, it allows you to be able to be okay and identify with the things that come with those emotions, right? So we, sometimes there's behaviors where we're upset, we're happy, and there's natural behaviors that fall with it. And you're when you're in a heightened state, you do things, people go, why'd you do that? I don't know, right? Because their emotions are all over the place. Whereas if you're naming it, this is how I'm feeling right now, whatever comes after that, it makes sense.
Well, and it slowed you down.
Yeah, that too, yeah.
Right? So you name it, and then the act is, what do I need to hear right now? Which is your mindful self-compassion question. And you tell it to yourself. You say, Audley, you're safe. Look around. You're in your room. you're on a Zoom call with some lady, you're talking about something, nobody's chasing you. And then part B of ACT is your toolbox. And your toolbox is going to be different than mine.
Yes.
It's going to be your joy list. At the beginning of the workshop, you will have free associated everything that brings you joy, from, shooting hoops to calling your best friend to, whatever it is for you, exercising, walking outside. Your list is going to be different, but you do 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of those things until you feel better. You make sure you enrich it and absorb it to push it from state to trait, like we talked about before.
Yep.
And then the P is praise, and you pat yourself on the back. You say, good job for managing your emotions. And then you can thank your teachers. You can thank your practice. You can thank your deity if you're a religious person. And that folds right into the gratitude practice, which science has shown in the past 60 years is important for wellness in every area of your life. So that's SNAP. And when I teach it with hand and arm movements, just because there's neuro-linguistic hooks for your memory. But then once you know it, you don't have to do it. You don't have to be doing the hokey pokey. But how I teach it is SNAP, soothing touch, name the emotion, ACT, and praise. And then if we're together in a group, we go to the right, we go to the left, we turn the back, we go to the front, we stand up, we sit down, and we yell out the different emotions that we're naming, so that people get it in their head, so that they remember to do it and remember what it stands for.
Love it. As you talk about SNAP, I'm a big fan of acronyms myself, and I always there's one that we use here on the podcast under the BOLD framework, right? So to help individuals live their best audacious lives ever. And the B in that framework starts with better than yesterday. So it's talking about constantly, so you climbed that mountain yesterday, what are you gonna do tomorrow, right? So you're always challenging yourself. The O is outlast adversity. We know adversity is going to come. We know it's going to hit us like a rock. We know we're going to get a flu or a head cold. What do we do? Do we roll over and go, oh, I'm too sick, I can't go, or we get past it? The L in that framework is live your truth. It's about authenticity, being yourself, your pathway versus mine. They're very, very different, but we take them nonetheless. And then the D is disrupt the norm, and that's just being that trailblazer that we all can be. And I think of the Wright brothers, where they were teaching people or they're building a plane, right? And and people standing around and was saying, "Hey, flying's for the birds. Are you crazy? Okay, But in fact, it is something essential, because now flying is a part of our existence. And so, as you're talking about SNAP, Bull came to mind. I love it because I love what SNAP does for people, because it really it forces you to be conscious and think in a really quick way, right? And so, simply wonderful.
I love the sound too, because it's like, it's like, it forces you to sort of snap out of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Snap into it, snap out of it, whatever. I just love it.
I love it. Same here. Are there any other tools that are favorites of yours? Journaling is big, as you talked about earlier, and that are out there.
Yeah, the gratitude practice is really important. So I don't really love to journal. I like to journal from prompts for poetry writing practice.
Okay.
That's relatively new for me, but the gratitude practice that I like is answering 2 questions in a journal with a pen in paper, not typing, every night. There's a brain science reason for that. And it's answering 2 questions. What did I enjoy today? And what am I grateful for today? Because I find if you do the one where it's like, say, write 5 things you're grateful for, it gets really stale.
Gotcha.
My pillows, whatever, you know what I mean? But if it's what did I enjoy today, you really have to think about what the hell did you do today? And if you're in a particularly bad, like troubling, sad time, like it happens, you're losing a loved one, and how could I possibly have enjoyed something today? I was sitting bedside in a hospital, but then you think about it and it's like, oh, that nurse was so nice. That nurse put her hand on my shoulder. Or I sat outside and I talked to other caregivers and I really felt a sense of peace or whatever it is. It makes you look at whatever suffering you're going through with a different lens and then answering the question, what am I grateful for today? It could have been the same thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But it just makes you sort of do like a review that's more sweet. And you can find, I mean, I've had some terrible suffering in my life with, my parents both passing away, my husband's parents passing away, my daughter going through drug addiction and recovery. I mean, I've had some real crap. And this practice has saved me. It's saved me from falling into a deep depression.
It's powerful. It's powerful. And I think
Yeah.
it allows you, see, because we know that life is tough and life is challenging, and life is also unpredictable. Like none of the experiences that you had, nobody knocked at your door and said, "Hey, by 3 o'clock, this is a terrible thing's going to happen to you." So just to give you a head, you don't get that heads up, right?
No.
And so by adopting the practices now, it gives you the opportunity to fortify yourself, to prepare yourself when it does come. You're like, okay, they say that the Navy SEALs are the most prepared because they're always in training for this big thing, and they're ready for when it happens. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay. They're still in preparation. That's kind of the mindset we're talking about.
That's why I said earlier, practice when you don't need it so that you'll have it when you do. Yeah. I actually, during the pandemic, became a grief educator, a certified grief educator, because people in my Wednesday morning class, 3 women became widows. And it wasn't even COVID. It was during the lockdown. It was during COVID, but their spouses died from different things. And I felt uncomfortable in my body, like holding the space for everybody. I was afraid I'd say something stupid.
Right.
And so I went and got trained. And now when people have catastrophic loss, I feel like I can sit with them and I can be calm in my own body.
Yes.
So that they can feel held.
I get, yep. I can see that here, and congratulations for doing that, because that type of support. No, but to be able to provide that kind of support is powerful, right? Like when people are at their lowest moments, feeling the worst, and be able to know that someone is there holding space for them. And it's not to say that you've got the magic words to make them feel better, make everything go away. That's not what we're talking about here. But holding space in a manner that shows empathy and care and compassion, right? It's so important, and at such a critical time. So no, congratulations, I really do mean that.
I did it. I did it last week. A girlfriend who I really care about's daughter took her own life, and at age 28, and I just sat with her and just let her talk. I mean, it's just so, these things happen in life to us that are so unimaginable and unspeakable and painful. And so, and that woman, that mom, has actually taken mindful self-compassion. She took it from me in 2014. And then she's taken a couple other workshops. So she has a good support network. She has a good toolbox, but she's suffering, and she's going to suffer. She's going to suffer.
Yep. I want to go back to sort of mindfulness practices and just get your perspective or thoughts on. So it's sort of great to have these daily practices that we use, habits. But there's also, I think sometimes there can be a fine line that you're not adding one more thing onto our busy plates already, right?
Oh,
Like it's
okay.
like,
No, I get you. I
right,
get you.
right. We want to be able to do it and take it on, but it's like not make it feel like, oh, I got to do this and then I got to do
No,
the
I
dishes.
have I have a hack for that.
Okay.
So with as you're going through your day,
Yeah.
whatever it is that you're doing, if you can drop in and not be doing your to-do list at the same time and not be time traveling to the past or the future, so you're not worrying and you're not ruminating, you're actually just cooking your meal. You're
Gotcha.
actually just brushing your teeth. You're actually just cleaning your body in the shower and feeling how the soap feels and feeling how the water feels, and you're not thinking all those other things. That's mindfulness in daily life activities. Like when you're walking to your car, you can imagine leaving footprints
Yes.
when your feet are touching the pavement. All these things that you're already doing in your day, if you
Yep.
can drop into paying attention to what you're doing while you're doing it, that's mindfulness. It all adds up to brain health.
Gotcha. So
And
is it,
if you could meditate, that would be good too.
gotcha. Gotcha. Well, I was about to say, is there a quick practice that someone could literally do today that you could suggest?
Yeah, I mean, so all they have to do is when they're listening to music, let the
Yep.
music move them, right? If they're driving in their car and they hit a red light or a stop sign, take a couple conscious breaths. Drop your awareness to the soles of your feet for a minute when you're walking.
Right.
And I recommend listening to guided meditations, especially loving kindness meditations, because science has shown that if you listen to meditations that are guiding you to wish others well as you wish yourself well, you're more likely to be altruistic. So Balanced Mind with Julie Potiker has hundreds of them. They're not scripted, they're just extemporaneous. It's free. And there's a poem at the end of each one. So you might find poets that you like.
Oh, okay. 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 I like that. I like that. Is there like a like a 3-word mantra around mindfulness that you could throw out for people that's just quick and something for if they can remember? I say 3, it doesn't have to be 3, whatever.
May you be safe. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you live with ease.
Oh, powerful. And just the idea of sort of reflecting on that, right? They're very taking the moment, taking those as you take those breaths, maybe reflecting on that. That I can see where it can bring a sense of calm that you refer to.
I'll be doing that at LAX in a couple hours. As I go through security, I'll be wishing all the strangers' heads those wishes
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
with
Yeah.
my mask on because I have a cold.
Yes. I understand. Julie, I so appreciate this. And one last thing I want to ask, I touch with all our guests and very much interested in getting their take on what they believe audacious living is. So I ask you.
Audacious living. I really think it's maintaining, well, I mean, it's stuff that I already have inside me. I have a tremendous intellectual curiosity and a real need for joy. So I'm going to find it.
Love it. Love it. Julie, this has been phenomenal. I've really appreciated our time together. Let's if listeners want to connect with you directly, learn more about you, or pick up Snap from chaos to calm, where can we send them?
I think people should go to my website. I mean, they can get Snap at any bookstore. If it's not on the shelf, they can order it, or of course, Amazon. And then my website, mindfulmethodsforlife.com, has everything on it. It's got the blogs, it's got all the media stuff, it's got the books, it's got my teachers' books and my teachers' websites. It's got books that other people have written that I think are great.
Love it. Great. Sounds like a great resource.
Yeah, it's like a library in there.
I love it. Well, what we'll do is we'll also make sure that the contact details are in the show notes as well, and we'll refer or encourage our listeners to check it out. Julia, I've had a great time with you. I really appreciate the conversation and dialogue. In particular, again, the work around mindfulness is so important because it gives us that opportunity to calm, even for just a moment, which of course can center ourselves, increase our focus, and even help with our overall purpose and how we view the world. Because that's another big part of this we didn't touch much on, but the ability to see the world from a different perspective once we are calm and able to see where we fit ourselves into that as well too. So it certainly helps with our purpose. So yeah, thanks for all that, and thanks again for being a guest on the Audacious Living podcast.
Thanks for inviting me. Great meeting you.
Back we are here on the podcast, and much thanks and appreciation goes out to Julie for being here. You know, what really stayed with me from this chat is the reminder that we don't have to wait until we're falling apart to care for ourselves. Julie shared something incredibly powerful if you're paying attention. And she said, practice calm before you need it. So when life hits hard, your nervous system already knows the way home. You know, that idea alone can change how we approach healing, whether it was her SNAP method, her gentle reframing of grief, or the way she described presence as a form of love. That through line was clear. You know, resilience isn't about toughness, it's about tenderness with strength. What I personally loved about this conversation was how human it felt. It really, really did. You know, Julie didn't present herself as someone who has it all figured out. She showed us what it looks like to stay open even when life hurts. And that matters because so often we think strength means pushing through when sometimes strength is simply staying present. You know, her reminder that we can build resilience before crisis hits, before a crisis hits, that's what landed for me personally, and I really appreciate her saying that. You know, that idea alone reframes how we approach self-care, not as something we earn, but something we practice. That's audacity too. Choosing gentleness in a world that often rewards hardness. To learn more about Julie's work, explore her books, meditations, and courses, or connect directly. Her website is mindfulmethod.com. Again, she's got a couple books, Snap, From Chaos to Calm, and Life Falls Apart, But You Don't Have to. And then her podcast, Balanced Mind with Julie Potiker. Like I said, she got lots going on, but we got you covered because all the links are in the show notes. And if all that wasn't enough, you know, Julie regularly shares free meditations and reflections and resources through her website and newsletter. So definitely stay connected to her because she has a lot to offer. You know, if life feels like a storm right now, remember this. You don't have to stop the waves to stay afloat. You just have to learn how to breathe while they pass. Mindfulness isn't about escaping the storm. It's about learning how to stand in it with compassion, courage, and care. And that, my friends, is what living audaciously truly looks like. I want to thank you for spending time out of your day with me here on the Audacious Living podcast. If you found this conversation helpful to resonate with you in some way, please share it with someone who you think might need it today. And if you haven't already, take a moment to rate and review this show. It helps this message reach even more people who are ready to live boldly and intentionally. You can leave a review at ratethispodcast.com/audacious. Until next time, keep showing up, keep choosing courage, and keep living your best audacious life ever. Take care.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion. My words got power, my thoughts have action. Motivation, stay gracious. That's greatness. Be all